Aboriginal history refers to the history and experiences of the indigenous peoples of various regions, including Australia, Canada, and the United States. This history spans thousands of years and encompasses diverse cultures, languages, and traditions. Here's a brief overview of Aboriginal history in different regions. Australia. Pre-colonial period, Aboriginal Australians are believed to have lived on the continent for over 65,000 years, developing rich cultural traditions, art, and languages. They had complex social structures and a deep connection to the land. Colonial period, European colonization began in 1788 with the arrival of the First Fleet. This period saw significant displacement, violence, and the spread of diseases, drastically reducing the Aboriginal population. 20th century to present, the 20th century saw the stolen generations where many Aboriginal children were forcibly removed from their families. Recent decades have seen a push for recognition, reconciliation, and the protection of Aboriginal rights, including land rights and cultural preservation. Canada pre-colonial period. Indigenous peoples, including First Nations, Inuit, and Métis, have lived in what is now Canada for thousands of years. They had diverse cultures, languages, and systems of governance. Colonial period, European colonization began in the 16th century. Indigenous peoples faced displacement, introduction of new diseases, and cultural disruption. Treaties were signed, often under unfair terms. Residential schools. From the late 19th century to the late 20th century, Indigenous children were placed in residential schools designed to assimilate them into Euro-Canadian culture. 20th century to present, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission 2008 to 2015 addressed the legacy of residential schools. Today, there is ongoing work towards reconciliation, recognizing Indigenous rights, and preserving cultures and languages. United States, pre-colonial period. Indigenous peoples, including various tribes such as the Navajo, Cherokee, and Sioux, lived in what is now the United States for thousands of years. They developed rich cultures, traditions, and societies. Colonial period, European colonization began in the 16th century. Indigenous peoples faced displacement, violence, and the introduction of new diseases. The doctrine of discovery and policies like Manifest Destiny justified the taking of indigenous lands. 19th century, the Indian Removal Act of 1830 led to the Trail of Tears, where thousands of indigenous people were forcibly relocated. The establishment of reservations further displaced indigenous communities. 20th century to present, the Indian Citizenship Act of 1924 granted U.S. citizenship to indigenous peoples. The American Indian Movement aim of the 1960s and 1970s fought for indigenous rights. Today, efforts focus on preserving cultural heritage, recognizing sovereignty, and addressing historical. Thank you.